In the previous video, I shared a super sandalwood accord. In this one, I'm going to share a cedar accord. This smells like something I've smelled before in a cosmetics store or a perfume store. It is a very masculine smell. The point of making this accord was because I wanted to make a cedar wood that lasts longer but also is rich and doesn't smell just like cedarwood essential oil, because that on its own it can be too much, I believe, at least for me. So what I did with this accord is I started by building a canvas, building a base for all the other materials to sit on, and for that I used Timbersilk. You could use ISO Super or Cedramber, they smell very similar. I use Timbersilk because I have it the most and it is just my go-to. So that's 6 parts, the majority of the accord. Then we're using half of that for Vertofix Coeur. We're using 3 parts, and this is adding like a block of wood effect. Timbersilk doesn't really have a defined structure, it's very glowing, it's like the aura of the perfume, whereas Vertofix, it creates a more structured feel. You could say it builds out the heart of this accord, the woody block of wood. And then we're adding a little bit, just a touch of the real cedarwood stuff. So in my case, Cedarwood Virginian, but you could use any other cedarwood. I forgot what they were called, but I know that there's one, I think from Texas, which is more smoky. That's up to you. This is what I have, so I added this. Next, I'm adding a little bit of Cedaramber, which is a combination of cedar and amber. It is not a very strong smell. I believe you could increase this, and I probably will in my next batch. What it does is it helps to add texture, to add more complexity, to add another cedarwood aspect to the table, plus also the amber. Lastly, I'm adding a little bit of Vetiver 0.5 parts to add rootiness, to add an earthy element, to try to ground the otherwise bright smell of the cedarwood. Smelling this is tricky because it's quite elusive. It is one of those smells that you smell for a moment and it smells beautiful and then it disappears because you get used to it. It's most likely because the majority of this accord consists of Timbersilk, and also we have Cedaramber, which is a very faint molecule that disappears to my nose. But when you smell it, you can smell the aura of Timbersilk, and you can smell the sprinkle of Cedarwood Virginian, which sits at the top of this accord and kind of makes it more visible to the nose. If you decide to blend this, my tip is to not smell this immediately after you blend, because you won't smell Timbersilk. At least I didn't, because I was mixing it and smelling it all the time. And because Timbersilk is so elusive, by the time I smelled it, in the end I couldn't really smell it. And I just thought, well, it just smells like Cedarwood Virginian, so what's the point? But then I left the blotter in another room and I went to it a few hours later and I could smell the ambery aspect, the Timbersilk. It was beautiful, but again, just for a short moment before I got blind to it again. The idea with this is kind of similar to the sandalwood that I talked about in a previous video. You can use any of the cedarwood materials you have. You don't have to use the ones I have. Obviously, if you use different materials, it will smell different. But if you want to extend your cedarwood materials, if you want to create some kind of bigger, richer smell of cedar, you could use this idea. Use Timbersilk or ISO Super to give it the aura. Use a little bit of amber, and then use your woody and cedar materials to build out the heart of the accord. In this case, I also added Vetiver to add an earthy aspect, but you could totally skip that and just play around until you find something that you enjoy. That's really the point of accords. It's not to follow a rigid structure. This is not music. It's perfumery. You have so much more freedom in this space. I hope this was useful. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you have any cedar accords that you've made that you find are beautiful and want to share with others.